Hi. So, tell me who you are and how you normally introduce yourself.
Hi, James. Nice to talk with you again. My name is Anthony Lark. Um, I am an Australian who's been living on the island of Phuket for 33 years. Um, I think I'm the longest serving expat on Phuket Island by now. And I'm a hotelier who is also currently the president of the Phuket Hotels Association, which is an alliance of 85 hotel members on the island. And I'm a director at Montara Hospitality, which owns and runs the Trisara Resort. And I was previously 12 years with Aman Resorts as one of their first general managers at Aman Puri in Bali.
Excellent. That takes me on to my second question. I mean, I've always known you as a luxury hotelier, and I guess like an ambassador of luxury hotels. You've operated and been the GM of two of the best hotels in Asia. What is it? Was it intentional, or what is it that engages you about luxury hospitality?
Well, my journey was very much a lucky one. I was 27 years old when Adrian Zecker hired me to open his first Aman resort here in Phuket of the Aman Puri back in 1988. And I guess, what engages me about luxury hospitality, obviously there are many facets and aspects to that over misused word luxury. Luxury is so many different things to so many different people these days. But I believe that luxury is actually the outcome of an experience rather than a product. And therefore, James, it can be the presidential suite at the Taj Mahal Hotel, or it could be a beautiful bowl of noodles sitting on the edge of the river at the Oriental in Bangkok. Those luxurious experiences are not defined by products. But I think that, as such, often in terms of the hospitality and service business, luxury can be also defined as something as warm and as sincere as a simple gesture from a staff member that surprised you and delighted you. Something that was outside of their job description that made you have a memorable and delightful experience. And really what engages me, it can be a morning swim, a beautiful tropical swimming pool in a resort for an early morning swim before breakfast. But it can also be, it's also more or less, more often than not, the human element. When you experience someone going above, as I said, and beyond their job description and making people happy with a sincere sense of being genuine, I think that defines luxury to me.
I think that comes on to my third question, which is really what's the most important thing about the experience? Is it design, like the physical appearance, or is it the service? You sort of answered it, but
Okay. Well, I think if you're asking what's the most important thing to a luxurious experience, design or service, again, it's very hard to put my finger on that, other than to say that to create memorable or luxurious experiences, obviously the location of where you are has to be exceptional. In some way, whether it's you're looking at the Matterhorn or you're looking at a beautiful sunset, that's an exceptional location. It brings part of it. The design of the place you're in, whether it's a restaurant or a resort, has to be thoughtfully designed and at one with the place that it's in. I think that the hotel design or a resort design has to listen to the site. And that's really the key element to getting that right first. And if that's all there, and the architect has listened to the site and the site is exceptional, I think the service culture, and the sense of service has to be the end definition of luxury, because there's nothing worse than being in a beautiful place with bad service. And I truly do believe that what defines the difference between a good hotel and a great hotel, or a good restaurant and a great restaurant, is anticipatory service.
Yeah.
People think about what you want before you want it. then that's something that will surprise you, and you would deem that luxurious, right?
Yeah. So that's, I mean, you've stayed all over the world. I remember when I spent more time with you and more time in Phuket. There's at least once or twice a year you go to North America or to Europe, and you'd stay
Yep.
at some of the best places. I never was sure whether it was just treating yourself well or good research. But what do you think the thing is that differentiates Asian or Thai hospitality compared to hospitality as it is in the rest of the world?
Yeah. Well, I think what defines Asian hospitality, Asian hospitality has become, renowned on a global sense as being pleasurable. And part of that, I think, has to do with, it stems from the basis of the Asian family system. As you know, Asian families are very close. When the kids grow up, they don't leave home, or mom and dad don't kick them out and charge them rent to stay at home, or charge them board. Families tend to stay together. The family unit is, generally speaking, closer here than it is in the West. And there's a certain respect for elders and doctors and teachers in Thailand that I think has a link to the service attitude. There's a certain element of this that naturally carries over into the service business. I'm not saying that Western service is not good, but there's a certain unpretentious, genuine sense of service that you get in Southeast Asia, particularly, or in Japan, that's not contrived, that's not pretentious, and it's not like, y'all have a nice day when they've never met you. There's a sense of sincerity that comes with that. So I think it's service that defines the difference between Asian and Western hospitality, and there's lots of other things, of course.
No, sure, but I mean, I agree. The way, I guess, respect for each other is more natural and genuine, and that just comes across. And I guess with good training and everything else, it gets heightened and the experience gets better.
Exactly.
The last thing of this, and we could talk for hours, but I know it's something that you're interested in. Apart from the pandemic, what do you care about in regard of sustainability for the hotel industry, particularly as you live on a paradise island?
Yeah, well, we live in a very delicate and by definition unsustainable environment if it's not treated with respect and cared for properly. So I think that one of the things I worry about, there's many things I worry about. I don't lose sleep over them, but I think common sense will have its way eventually. But I think the monopolization of the vast majority of hotel companies, 3 or 4 of the big giant hotel companies, like Marriott or Accor, are dominating the world of hospitality these days. And as such, what that does, their business model, is it requires them to unfold very much a cookie cutter style of service. And, I think it would be terrible if one day you woke up in Phuket and you had no idea where you were. I think there's no sense of being at one with the place when you homogenize things that much. And I think that this is what really, this is something I worry about, is the homogenization and the cookie cutter approach to hotel amenities and, beds and pillows and mini bars and just the sense of welcome. So that's one thing. But I think that, hotels have got to also offer a lot more connection with the local environment. I think we've got to transition out of this pandemic to buy more local. I think we've got to engage a lot more with the local community and feed our guests into experiences which are by definition authentic and local and not contrived. But I think that, secondly, I think that travel and hotels use far too much plastic and far too much chemicals. I mean, simply speaking, there are economical and viable solutions to using plastic to drape your laundry in. Shampoo bottles don't need to be plastic. It doesn't make any sense these days to serve drinking water in plastic bottles that end up in a landfill or get burnt. This is a global movement. And for instance, our Phuket Hotels Association took a step in 2019 where I we asked them to sign a pledge. Every general manager signed a pledge that within 1 year we would remove all plastic drinking bottles from all 14,000 hotel rooms and food and beverage outlets in the 82 hotels. And just in 1 year, we surveyed it and we saw a reduction of 6 million bottles, plastic bottles reduced from the landfill on a little island in just 1 year. So you multiply that by all the islands in the world, it's quite incredible.
And it's the feeling, I think, like guests, if the hotel does that, the guests feel a sense of responsibility to the local environment as well. So it helps with your first point as well, you know?
Yeah, and I think that hotels that vie to be authentic when they talk about sustainability, which is now a trendy thing to be, guests see through it. You can't just say, we'll change your sheets every 2 days and still charge you $1,000 a night, and because we're trying to save water. You should advertise what you're doing in the local community. You should advertise what you've done to reduce plastic, to reduce chemicals. In the laundry, particularly places like kitchens and laundries are terrible. But yeah, it's got to be done from the heart. It's got to be authentic. I think that the one great opportunity we all have as hoteliers coming out of this pandemic, in many ways, is to emerge from this to become more guest-centric. Where, you know, in the last few years, James, when you check into hotels, it felt in many ways too often that guests were applying for a bank loan when they were checking into hotels, that the hotel was doing you a favor by checking in. Well, how many times have you been kicked out of a room at 11 a.m. when actually there was no one else going into that room that day? They could have frankly given you your room to your flight, or not given you a room on arrival when you've got off an overnight flight at 7 in the morning. They're not anticipating people's needs, or in many cases to that extent. I think let's get rid of some of these crazy bad practices. We should remove the crazy imported mini bars and the mad prices that hotels charge for refreshments in the room. You know, we should buy more local products. We should do away with all these ridiculous charges. As I said, the late departures, early arrivals. There is going to be an oversupply of hotel rooms for at least 3 or 4 years, even with pent-up demand and with people getting vaccinated. There's still going to be an oversupply of hotel rooms. And I think the hotels that become more guest-centric, more generous, more creative, and more innovative will emerge from this pandemic with a bigger market share than their comp sets.
I hope so, and I think you're right. It is the place that you feel at home that you'll go back to again. Yeah,
and Adrian Zecker, the great hotelier and entrepreneur who started Aman Resorts, used to drill into me the very simple notion that, Anthony, this is not the Hilton. You do away with anything else you've ever learned in the hotels. You are the host. This is your home. Every single person that jumps out of the car and walks through this lobby is a guest staying in your hotel, in your house. And I know it's a cliche because actually I'm charging them to stay in my house, and therefore it's a bit of an act. But if you can, in general, impart a feeling that a guest does feel as welcome as they would when staying in your home, then again, that's luxury, and that's a memorable experience. And that means the manager has to become more engaged, spend less time in the office looking at payroll statistics and more time in the lobby talking to his guests.
Yeah, and you always did that.
I always
did. This can't go on too long. Everyone that knows you and that sees this, I think, will probably reach out again, because you've been of all of us that have known you, you've been a big part of our lives, and the reason why I'm interviewing you is because you're one of my heroes. So
thank you,
Anthony. We'll talk again. Thanks for your time.
I very much look forward to it. I appreciate the time today. It's great to see you, and I think you need a bit of a suntan, my friend.
I do. I think it's the light, but I think I need to be in Phuket.
Come to Phuket on July the 1st, when people can come here if they've been vaccinated without quarantine.
Wonderful. Thanks, mate.
Take care. Thanks for the chat. Bye.